And again, good morning, everyone. I want to thank you all so much for the various emails and cards and phone calls and different things that I have received over the past few weeks, over the holidays and whatnot. Why, even just this week, I received a care package from Karen that included Gold Bond hand lotion because we've all been washing our hands and sanitizing them so much, they're probably a little extra dry this winter. And I even received in my doorstep a jar of homemade granola from David for yogurt, parfaits, and whatnot. So again, thank you all so much. I am truly blessed by this wonderful Sangha, as is all of our teachers here and our volunteers and other members of the Sangha. And to those of you that have been reaching out via the different ways, email and text and message and whatnot, again, I hope you know that if you are struggling or having a difficult time, all of our teachers here are available and make themselves accessible to everyone. It does take a little bit of time. Sometimes when you send an email, it might be a day or two, but we try to respond to everybody equally. So if you're having difficulty in any way, shape, or form, I hope that you reach out. Email is generally the best way to get a hold of us. And so I originally intended to do a talk on time today. What with the new year and all of that, it seemed that was what was alive for me. However, after the events that we witnessed this week and the emails and the text messages and the conversations I've experienced, I wanted to talk about that. And interestingly enough, the two actually kind of merged, this talk about time and talk about the events of this week. And what I mean by that is that one of the teachings in our practice begins with this saying: everything is a complete catastrophe, and now the next thing. And this is really a very deep teaching, because it points at two important contrasts that I want us to bring into our awareness. One is this idea of everything versus the next thing, the global versus presence. And the second contrast that this points at is past and future versus the now, this moment right here. When we experience events such as the ones this week, both in Washington or with the COVID or with other social and racial injustice issues, it is very upsetting and disturbing. Emotions can overwhelm us, and subsequently, there is a tendency to globalize our thinking. In other words, we begin thinking, what are the ramifications of this? What does all of this mean? Where do we go from here? What is the meaning of all of this? And of course, none of this we can know, which cultivates a sense of helplessness and more fear. There's also a need or a tendency of the mind to blame, to judge, to condemn, and this is a trap, one I myself have fallen into. Notice the conversations this week. I thought 2021 would be different, would be better. I even had one person say, well, apparently today is actually December 39th. So you see, there they are again, this global thinking versus presencing. This past and future versus now. You see, cultivating unskillful thinking creates great anxiety and anger, which is exactly what it takes to attack the Capitol in Washington: fear and anger. You see, it feels much more empowering to march on external demons, to attack the external villains and perpetrators, than it does to turn and face our own demons. So the invitation is to purify fear, greed, hatred within us. As Jack Kornfield says, when we cease the war inside, we end wars outside, whether they are domestic or foreign. Now, this does not mean that we do not still take action if we are moved to do so. Let the ferocity of our response be in quantity. How many people can you listen to so that they feel heard, so that their fears are witnessed? And let the ferocity of our response be in our tenacity of practice. The way of the spiritual warrior is that each day is a challenge. For non-practitioners, each day is either a blessing or a curse, accompanied by a preoccupation with clinging and aversion, past, future, good, bad, right, wrong, pain, pleasure. It's a roller coaster. As Robert Brummett wrote in his essay on Dancing with Chaos, to dance with chaos means to find its rhythm and to move with it. Chaos may seem to have no rhythm, but the science of chaos theory shows us that within the appearance of chaos lays hidden order that is quite profound and quite beautiful. We have only to examine our own life. Look how we have grown from the chaos, from the traumas, from the crises within our own life. And so this beauty and this profoundness and this true sense of order, this perfection in the imperfection, emerges within chaos itself if we have eyes to see it. But when those eyes have focused and attached to a villain, when they have focused and totally attached to those who are to blame, then they cannot see the perfection in the imperfection. We act from a place of compassion and understanding. And what is it that we are to understand? When we understand deeply fear and anger, we understand those who have not yet been able to hear the teachings, those who have not yet opened their hearts and minds. And when we can understand this in ourselves, we can understand them, because there is no them. We can deeply listen to those among us who are hurting and who are scared, who are caught in the allure of the external. And when we can listen deeply, and when they feel heard, then they no longer need to project their anger and their fear onto their surroundings, onto the external world. When we are present with our own anxiety, our hatred, that is where true connection begins. It's so interesting, and I myself have fallen into this trap as well, how we so often complain that we don't understand why people can't follow and understand facts. They can't understand reasoning. They can't follow logic. What is the matter with them? You're looking in the wrong place. That's not the problem. The problem is fear. When you connect with your fear, now you begin to understand them. When you connect with your own anger at not being able to control the world, now you understand them. It breaks down the walls. It breaks down the barriers between them and us. That's how connection begins. That's where uniting begins. Finding common ground begins with experiencing and being with the emotions that arise, not the thoughts and the concepts, not the facts, not the logic. It's deeper. As my teacher would always say, go deeper. But then there's this, go deeper. But what about go deeper? If you could only have been a fly on the wall, I'm sure it was quite comical. Finding common ground arises within us as we come home instead of going global. What's this all mean? Where's this going to go? How could they do this? Are they going to do it again? All of these thoughts are a distraction to truth. All of these concepts are a facade. They are the allure of the external. Coming home is where we begin, and that helps us to break free from going global. And to escape from the prison of time, many folks are still stuck on last week. Haven't left it yet. Yeah. Or as Whitney says, even last year, our friends were like, this is really December 39th, December 42nd. So to escape from the prison of time is to grant the hours their own life, to uncurl the iron grip of our hand on any given moment, while at the same time finding the ability to be more present, more robust, more alive, more open to our own self-evident absurdities, all the while continuing the conversation. And so I'd like to end today with this poem by Mark Nepo called The Understory. The sun has its story that no curtain can stop. I've been watching the stars rely on the darkness they resist, watching fish struggle with and against the current. And hawks seem to glide faster when their wings don't move. Still, I keep retelling what happens till it comes out the way I want. We try so hard to be the main character. when it's our point of view that keeps us from the truth. The only way to listen to what can never be said is to quiet our need to steer the plot. When jarred by life, we might unravel the story we tell ourselves and discover the story we are in, the one that keeps telling us.